I look at the numbers every day. On Friday, I looked at the numbers. There's over 62,000 children found by the Trump administration. Children that weren't even being looked for under the Biden administration. President Trump saved over 62,000 children's lives. Some of these children were in sex trafficking, we found them. Some were in forced labor. Some were being mistreated. I can't even discuss some of the mistreatment we found out about. President Trump, again, proves why he's the greatest president in my lifetime. Over 62,000 children rescued by President Trump. Again, children that were ignored and weren't being looked for under President Biden.
Well, joining me now is political commentator Stephanie Hamill. Stephanie, thank you so much for joining me here on the U.S. Report. Wanted to talk to you, bringing up a lot of stuff that we've been talking about today already with the Somali migration crisis. This has led to Donald Trump talking about banning migration from third world countries. I think he's listed 19 countries so far. Tell us about what he's talking about here. Do we know what countries are named? What are the implications for this? And how is it being received?
Well, it's being received in different ways, right? People have different opinions about what Trump has said. Obviously, some people think his rhetoric on this is too strong, while others, especially supporters, are saying that this is what they voted for. His strong reaction to migration really came after what happened to the National Guardsmen in Washington, D.C., where they were shot over the holiday weekend of Thanksgiving. And we learned out it was an Afghani who was a migrant here. And we also learned some things about how this migrant was having a hard time assimilating, and supposedly he had a clean record and so on. And so this kind of goes along with a lot of the headlines we've seen over the past year, if you will, where there are so many immigrants, migrants, who some of them are here legally, some of them illegally, who are committing crimes. And we're also learning a lot about the people who are using the safety nets here, if you will. So we've been told that migrants are a net positive on this country. But if that's the case, then why are so many of them using government assistance, aka money that is paid for by the taxpayer? So, there needs to be a huge conversation about immigration, migration. And this is one of the main reasons why President Trump got elected. And so American people are looking for action and definitely a response to some of the things that we've seen so far. So if people aren't contributing, they shouldn't be here. This is America, the best country in the world, and we shouldn't have to accept people from the third world if they're not willing to assimilate and contribute.
Well, look, I don't think you're going to get a lot of people disagreeing with you on that. And obviously, Donald Trump's big platform coming in was fix that southern border. And he did that very, very well. But what are Trump people saying to some of the criticism that the left is bringing up now that says, well, this is a new distraction here. It's a distraction technique. Let's get everybody angry about migrants when there's economic figures and economic numbers that aren't all that hot in some areas of the economy.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that it's a distraction. This is a concern that people have had for a long time, right? And this was one of the drivers for the election and electing President Trump. With that being said, when you have migration at these levels and illegal immigrants coming through, that does have an effect on our economy, right? So let's talk about legal migration. So Americans are going to have to compete with migrants for jobs, right? We're going to have to compete for housing and so on. And then when it comes to illegal immigration, if you talk about the crime and the cost of dealing with that in some of these areas, I mean, it all has an impact on our communities. And so, yes, the housing and our economy needs to be addressed, and it is being addressed. But again, migration adds to that.